Information soaked inside the mind. Wisdom, experience, we're focused on your grind. Understanding comprehension through the quotes and all lines. And respect that should be given to your folks at all times. Expect to be amazed with what I'm posting online. From the funky instrumentals to my logos and designs. Message on the garment, plus it comes with hard rhymes. Knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and respect at all times.
Dropping heat rocks on y'all bitch ass. You know what I'm saying?
Nobody lies like a black person saying they're half Native American. And it's their grandma fault they're saying it too.
Most black Americans today know that they have indigenous ancestry due to the oral history passed down from their mothers, grandmothers, and even great-grandmothers. Send them down and tell them we got Indian in our family. But what if I told you that those same words could have possibly been the key to some of your ancestors' freedom? See, in the province of Virginia, which at the time consisted of West Virginia, Kentucky, parts of Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, and western Pennsylvania, in the year of 1662, the General Assembly had passed a law stating, whereas some doubts have arisen whether children gotten by an Englishman upon a Negro woman should be a slave or free. It says, all children born in the country shall be held bond or free only according to the condition of the mother. See, in Virginia, the status of the mother was passed down to her child, so therefore enslaved women gave birth to enslaved children regardless of the status of the father of the children. But the same was true for free women. Their children were automatically free, and one path to freedom for a slave held in Virginia was to prove maternal descent from an illegally enslaved Indian woman. Same thing went on for the province of Carolina, which consisted of North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Florida. In South Carolina and other states, they made up an act called an Act for the Better Ordering and Governing Negroes of Other Slaves in this province. In it states, this law states, whereas in the majesties, plantations in America, slavery has been introduced and allowed, and the people commonly called Negroes, Indians, mulattoes, and mestizos have been deemed absolute slaves and subjects of property unto the hands of the particular persons. Now, if you go down to the second paragraph, read this. It says that all Negroes and Indians, free Indians in the middle with the government, Negroes, mulattoes, mestizos, who are now free, they accept it, but the mulattoes or the mestizos who are now or shall hereafter be in this province, and all their issue and offspring born or to be born, shall be, and they are hereby declared to be, and remain forever hereafter absolute slaves, and shall follow the condition of the mother, and shall be deemed, held, taken, reputed, and adjudged in the law. See, when indigenous slavery started really booming, it started booming because of the wars that was going on. Most of black Americans today descend from slaves of war, not slaves that came across the transatlantic slave trade. You have a whole bunch of wars that was popping off, like the Tuscarora Wars, the Yamasee Wars, the Cherokee Wars, leading up to the Seminole Wars. And these are mainly the wars that I'm speaking of that happened within the southeast area of America. And when these things went on, you got to remember, the warriors who was fighting these wars had families. The average Native American family pre-colonization averaged out to about 3 to 4 people, but could also range up to 6+ people. So understand, for every one male that went to war, leaving his family back and becoming a slave of war, that opened their family up to not having no security and not having anybody to fight for them. So that's leading to them easily being taken, enslaved, and turned into indentured service. See, what people still don't understand about the difference between North American slavery and slavery within Central America, South America, and the Caribbean islands is that North America actually had more indigenous slaves than African slaves brought to the Americas. See, they estimated that there was about 147,000 to 500,000 enslaved Native Americans in North America, but they only estimated 388,000 Africans being brought to North America throughout the years of 1619 to 1865. See, historian Alan Glay estimates that between 1670 to 1715, 24,000 to 51,000 captives Native Americans were exported through Carolina ports, of which more than half, 15,000 to 30,000, were brought from Spanish Florida alone. These numbers were more than the number of Africans imported to the Carolinas during the same period. This is why you got such cases like Robert V. Hardaway, where they ruled that descendants of a certain indigenous woman had been sold into slavery illegally between the years of 1682 and 1748, which were in fact free, as their ancestors had been sold into slavery illegally, which led them to freedom. You also got other cases like Charles Evans and others versus Lewis v. Allen case, where they had to draw up a genealogical chart proving that they descended from an Indian ancestor. You understand? Our ancestors send us down and let us know we got Indian in our family. This is something that's been passed down through generations. So the fact that she sat you down and told you that, understand, they had to sit her down and tell her that. So right now is the time to take this shit very crucial and not lightly. Shit is changing fast, a little bit too fast, but we can slow it down with the truth. Thank you. Love you. Peace.
Native American languages, right? We're finna delve into it. What is, what isn't, who is, who isn't, and is there really such a thing? First off, some people will argue the fact that Native American language is the language being spoken in a land of the people, such as America. And the primary language is English, supposedly. However, I would argue to say we're not speaking English. We're actually speaking American, because the English language comprises of multiple different languages, right? You got French words, you got Spanish words, you have German words, all that make up the American language. However, what is the actual language of the Native American people? If we're all been here, and I did say we, okay? If we all been here for hundreds of thousands of years or tens of thousands of years, whatever you want to prove, why aren't we have, or why isn't there a universal language amongst the Native American people? Why is there different dialects, different tongues, different languages? What is that about? I've heard some people say that their language was close to the Hebraic language. I've heard other people say their language is close to the Egyptian language. Some people's language is close to Syrian. There's a lot of different dynamics behind the Native American language. However, if we are very clear and we want to be honest, the Native American language is a language that is predominantly spoken in a country. But I digress, because what this video is really about is a lot of tribes are losing their language. A lot of people are not fluent in their language. Some people speak one or two words, and it gives the presumption when they're speaking to those who are considered foreigners or colonizers that they speak their language. But in actuality, some tribes are only speaking one or two words out of their native language, which is why there's a big push for Native American language programs, and which is why the federal government is funding these programs so that tribes can regain their native tongue. Now, why am I bringing all this up? Because as culture is being pushed, as heritage is being pushed, as people are saying you don't speak your native language, 90% of the federal recognized tribes members don't either. They're going through a relearning process. Their elders, who are mostly all of the fluent speakers, are now heading up these language classes for their children to learn. You know, the ones who will get on a post and troll about you not being indigenous. So while it's easy to talk about other people who've lost their identity and their culture, understand that our language is one of the most important aspects of who we are. Right? So my people, we speak Hichiti. And yes, we are too teaching, educating our children to speak in the language, because our people are speaking this, what we're talking now. And it's easier for our children to sit here and speak to other children and them wanting to be away from their culture. So the question I have for you is, how do you keep your children involved and proud to be an indigenous person and maintain their language? Simply, at least in my opinion, speak their language to them all the time. Force them to speak that language to you at home. Force them to speak that language to you out in public. Force them to speak their language everywhere you go. And only allow them to speak the English language or American language when they're in school or they're around people who do not speak their language. But when it's important, when it matters the most, and you need to pass on a very important message, like be quiet, or don't do that, or no mate, because they're doing too much in front of people, use it. Use it every chance you get, guys. But do remember, our language is a very important part of who we are as a tribe. And whatever your language is in your tribe, make sure you push it to your children. 100%. Thank you for listening.
EJ Smoke, tell him, Chief. It's just something about our people that magnifies. It's something about our people that we just be lighting a fire up. It's something about us that got a spiritual bond. There's nobody is like the people, the Aboriginal people of America. There's something special that you look at. When you see our people, you know we here. You know we here. From the darkest to the lightest. It's just something that manifests in us that we got that nobody else got. When you see Africans, you can tell they don't put no butter, no cocoa butter on their skin. Africans got dust on their damn knees. You can tell that their mamas didn't rub them down in Vaseline, in bear grease. You know, you couldn't go to school without being.
Hoochie Mama, who would have ever thought? The Chattahoochee River, man.
Now, some of you ain't never seen no African niggas before, so you just listen to old 50 now.
Now, I ain't gonna hold you. Being a Georgia native, Cherokee, and Muskogee descent, you know, this one kind of took me by surprise. But just read this article. Screenshot that if you got to.
American. I was born here. My mammy and my daddy was born here. And my daddy's daddy. I know Africa.
They take everything that's of us and they flip it and turn it to a negative. Even what they call the pimp walk is how the Cherokee warriors walk into battle. Just like how they said we had ghetto names that started with like Shaquana, Shaquela, Rashad. Well, those are all indigenous names.
I'm from Africa. I'm from Crenshaw Mafia.
They took our identity and tried to spin it into a negative. I'm pretty sure when they saw the women in the Chattahoochee River, they was very exotic to these European settlers. You know what I'm saying? Hoochie mama. Women in the Chattahoochee River.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
Y'all, they in trouble. Ooh, they in trouble. I see why Trump about to let out the truth now, cause he not trying to get the karma that they done stirred up. Welcome to the cookout. So we already know and have all the proof that when they arrived in these lands, they saw our people, right? But this gets deep, ladies and gentlemen. Stay with me. We know our people built these, right? This is our culture, Cahokia Mounds, right? Stay with me. Come on, we about to cook. Hold on. Welcome to the cookout. We about to get to cooking. So we know that means the Americans have more pyramids than the rest of the world, and we built them. We get that, right? We're starting to learn of our prominence in these lands. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to get to the main course. So while doing my reading, I came upon this. Ancient Monuments of the Mississippi Valley, 1848, Squire and Davis. One earthwork structure in particular caught our eye. It has been referred to as the Hebrew earthworks of Milford, Ohio. This giant earthwork was shaped into what looks like an old Hebrew lamp, along with other recognizable Hebrew symbols. Hebrew symbols, you say? So knowing that we are the indigenous Americans, and now knowing that we are also the Hebrews, this makes it rather interesting, because if you read your holy scripts, God is described as avenging Israel on the numerous occasions, particularly throughout the book of Exodus, Judges, and Kings, when stories detail God's intervention to deliver Yasharal from their enemies. So if we are Yasharal, and they've spent all this time doing us dirty, there's only one thing left. And you know what? I think I'm going to kick back, grab me some popcorn, and watch what happens to these lands and the people that did us wrong. And have no fear. Just know, for us, the melanatids, the indigenous Americans, the Murs, the Indians, the Hebrews, whatever you want to call us, oh, this is going to be a beautiful time, ladies and gentlemen. Ooh.
See, this is where your Constitution comes from. These are the people who wrote the Constitution. See, the Constitution used to be called the Magna Carta. It was written in 1215. That's when it was written. AD. That's when it was written. When they lied to you and tell you James Madison sat down and wrote the Constitution like he was so intelligent, that's a lie. That's a lie. No, they got it from the Magna Carta. That's where they got it from. And it was written by a melanated man. When they tell you the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson, which was raping indigenous women, and Benjamin Franklin, they sat down and wrote it. No, they didn't. The Bill of Rights, all that came from Europe. The Constitution, where you get taxed and all of that stuff, all of that came from the Magna Carta, written in 1212. Look it up. Magda Carter. Look it up, and you'll see for yourself. They like these people was brilliant. They came here to kill and destroy and set up shop. Kill your people and then build over their stuff. And the people who they put in front of us, most of them people be foreigners. with the exception of like Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson was a Cherokee Indian. Is a Cherokee Indian. And then, see, when it's people like Jesse Jackson and these other indigenous people, they only let them live a certain amount of time. But Sidney Poitier was a Jamaican, and he lived to be close to 100. See, what they do for them, they're not going to do for you, because you are superior. And because you don't want to walk in your calling, they walk over you. Because you don't want to walk in your calling. You want to play the victim instead of saying, no, this is our shit. And see, a lot of these people that you see out here talking, a lot of these people you see in the Pan-African movement and other movements that talk against us, saying that we are indigenous, a lot of them is foreigners. A lot of them, they're not, and I'm gonna tell you this too, they have infiltrated themselves in our families.
Oh, shit.
40 million black people in America are the role models for 1.8 billion black people in the world. When we say something's cool, it's cool in Tibet. When we say something's a dud, it's a dud in North Korea. We have mastered culture, community, and cool and creativity, yes or no? So now all we have to do is switch, become bilingual, and master capitalism, commerce, and a new community. Don't go from rocking the mic to owning it. So I want you just to shift your brain. In other words, you are the capital. You already have what you need. When you walk in a room, you are unique. Everybody wants to be you, except they don't want to be black.
The black man in America is the most copied man on this planet, bar none. Everybody want to be a nigga, but nobody want to be a nigga. How about that question?